Hi there, Smart Driver. Talking to you about driving in deep snow, ice, and conditions that compromise traction and give you weird behavior of your vehicle. That's what we're going to talk about. Tips and strategies to stay safe on snow and ice. And much of the East and the Midwest in the United States, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Indiana have got a lot of snow. If you are one of those people that have got a lot of snow, let us know down in the comments there. Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Corey is a moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at and keeping out the bad people. So, snow and ice, that's what we're talking about. And we got started a little bit early here. I said 4:30, had something to do with my daughter. She's off to France here at the end of the week for 3 months, so we had to run around and do a few things for her, but we get started a little bit earlier. So I do appreciate you showing up a little bit later than what the normally scheduled time is for snow and ice, but we definitely want to help people to keep safe, driving safe. YouTube and Twitter and all the social media platforms are alive with everything that's going on with the winter storm that's happening in the East. Excuse me. It would seem that if you look at a map of North America, there's kind of this, shape of Florida going down into Texas and providing cold weather for places that don't normally get cold weather there in the United States and in Canada. And I talked to my mom in southwestern Ontario. She has just been getting snow since before Christmas, and they have one of those good old-fashioned winters that many people don't seem to get anymore or talk about. And, for those of us on the West Coast, we don't have any snow at all. The ski hills, it's just really terrible for the ski hills. The conditions are not good for people skiing. Plenty of ice, and they are complaining about the lack of snow that they are getting on the ski hills. But in the rest of the country and in parts of Japan, Russia, other parts of the world, they are getting just a tremendous pounding of snow. And, it depends where you live, whether you're, subscribed to climate change or not. But in many parts of the world, they are not subscribed to climate change and the fact that they are getting crazy, crazy amounts of winter. But like I said, for those of us here on the West, we're not getting much winter at all. So here at Smart Drive Test, we help you pass a driver's test, be a safer, smarter driver, and all kinds of crazy weather conditions when you're driving, and as well to start a career as a truck or bus driver. So if you have questions about becoming a CDL driver, getting your commercial driver's license, we can help you with that too. So let us know in the comments what class of license you're going for and how we can help you out with learning how to drive and be a safer, smarter driver. Because as we talked about last week, we talked about social driving, the number one reason for crashes on the roadway. Most people engage in social driving. The hallmarks of social driving are driving too fast, following too close, stopping too close in a queue of traffic, talking on your cell phones, eating, drinking while driving, not reading traffic signs, policing other drivers, believing that you're a good driver and that it's other people that need to change. These are all the hallmarks of social driving. And believe me, social driving is rampant when weather gets bad and there is a lot of snow on the roadways, because people do not change or adapt their driving to the conditions of the roadway, and they end up in the ditch. They're driving too fast. They don't put decent tires on their vehicle. They're following distances too close. I saw a video on Twitter the other day. They were talking about driving, and of course it's a pickup truck that's tailgating the vehicle in front. This happens. New York City is getting snow as well. So Mandrews. I moved from Brooklyn, New York, and when it snows, everything shuts down. Even in dusting, they don't know how to drive in the snow. You're absolutely right about that in New York City, because they normally don't get snow. It's the same as the Carolinas. They get snow in the Carolinas and everything shuts down and they just go home because they do not know how to drive in the snow. Not to mention their vehicles are not fitted with any quality of tires. You know, they have 3-season tires on their vehicle, and what quality or state those tires are in is not designed for driving on slippery conditions or snow. So you're absolutely right. The place just shuts down. And this is the other thing. New York City rather, is getting a lot of snow, and it's causing a lot of problems on the eastern seaboard. And here's a question for me. I was thinking about this before the live stream. You have the Midwest, which is kind of Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, parts of Indiana. But what are those states, Ohio and Pennsylvania, called between the states on the eastern seaboard? There's a couple of states there that aren't really part of the Midwest, and they're not really part of the eastern seaboard in the U.S. So I was thinking about what those states are called. So we're talking about driving in the snow. We're talking about driving on snow and ice, and tomorrow I'm releasing a video, 5 defensive driving tips for driving on ice and snow on the highway, and strategies you can put in place that will keep you safe when driving on highways in the winter times. Mandrews, yeah, Georgia, thought it was funny. Yes, Georgia is the same. It's another one of those states that they get snow and they just lose their mind. Texas is the same. Dallas, Houston, they just do not get snow very often. Maybe once a year. Same thing with living in Seattle. They don't get snow. Victoria, on Vancouver Island here in Canada, they get 1 snow a year. And when they get 1 snow, it is incredibly slippery. And I'll talk more about the reasons for that, because the temperature is near zero. It's near freezing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And when the temperature is near freezing, there's a layer of water on top of the ice and snow, making it more slippery than it would be at sub-zero temperatures. There's more traction when the temperature is 0 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 15 degrees Celsius, than it is when the temperature is around freezing, because of that layer of water on top of the snow and ice, making it slippery. And I can attest to that right now, walking through the dog park. It's freezing at night. The creek is flooding. There's a layer of water on top of the ice, and you step on it, and you need to step on it gingerly, because it is very, very slippery. And the analogy that I always use is, think of the Zamboni going out and flooding the ice hockey rink and cutting the snow. The ice hockey rink is most slippery right after the Zamboni goes out and floods the ice. That's when it's most slippery. And this is why when temperatures around freezing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius, that is when snow and ice is most slippery. Know that for your driver's test or driving on ice and snow and deep snow. Now, for those places, Toronto, Ontario, Canada got 50 centimeters of snow in the last couple of days, which is 20 inches of snow, which is, you know, this much snow, a little bit less than 2 feet of snow. The sound. There's no road noise and very little traffic noise when you're driving on that kind of snow, in that deep snow, because it insulates and suppresses the sound of traffic. So know that. Snowbanks. This is the other interesting piece about it, is people are driving through snowbanks and they're running into fixed objects. And I am guilty of this as well. Years ago when I drove taxi, I was in a parking lot. It had snowed. The parking lot had not been cleared. And I got hooked up on one of those curb stops with the wrought iron that holds them into place. Well, there was a piece of wrought iron sticking out of the curb stop, and it punctured the transmission on the car I was driving. Don't drive into snowbanks. Another example of that, when I started the YouTube channel, I was downtown, I'd been shooting a video. I turned off the dash cam because I didn't want to overwrite the video that I had recorded for the video that I was going to edit. And driving back to my house, the recycle truck was coming along the roadway, and I don't know what the recycle truck had been thinking, but all the snowbanks had frozen in the last few days because it had melted, and overnight it got cold. And so the snowbanks were essentially ice. And the recycle truck drives along, and there's a big, huge pile of snow on the roadway, drives into the pile of snow, and the whole front end of the truck went up like 5 feet in the air, slammed back down onto the roadway. And of course, I didn't have my dash cam on to have this, to get this video, get this on video, unfortunately. But, you know, it's when it gets cold and it thaws, and then it cold and thaws and cold and thaws, then you get snowbanks and other huge mounds of snow that become these huge piles of ice, and they are dangerous to cars. Same thing with deep snow. You get all this deep snow and snowbanks. There are things hidden in there. So do not drive into them for fear of doing damage to your vehicle. Know where you're driving. Pay attention to utility poles, traffic signs, snowbanks, and those types of things along the roadway to look for landmarks that will guide you as to where the roadway is, because you can lose sight of the roadway. In addition to that, know that snowplows don't always drive on the roadway. There was a story when I was a kid where they were driving, they had plowed the roadway, plowed it, and it gotten a lot of snow over a couple of weeks, and the engineers came out for whatever reason, and they were looking at the roadway and whatnot, and somebody finally indicated that the traffic where the snowplows had gone was not actually on the roadway. The roadway was actually 30 or 40 feet to where they had plowed, owing to the fact that, you know, the plows didn't plow, they plowed out some other area. And so know that the plows are not always going to be on the roadway, but we hope for the most part that they are going to be. Paul, my friend, winter long weekend. Winter long. We're not having winter here, Paul. We're having cold weather and blah. Cold weather and blah. Okay. You in Toronto there, on the other hand, got, you know, a couple of feet of snow in the last couple of days. So you have a lot of snow where you are in Toronto, and enjoy that. It's a lot of fun. A good old fashioned winter is what you're experiencing there in Ontario. So if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what class of license you're going for and how we can help you to be a safer, smarter driver, especially here in the winter time where many places are now experiencing winter storms, ice, freezing rain. Ice on the roadways and black ice is not freezing rain. If you are getting freezing rain, and many people have left comments on the black ice video, and then I finally realized after a number of comments that people were saying, oh, just stay home. They were confusing black ice with freezing rain. Freezing rain is a very different road condition than black ice. Black ice is something that forms usually at night, early in the morning. There's no traffic on the roadway, low elevation, high elevation, bridges and overpasses, places on the roadway that lie in shadow, or places where the roadway runs past a body of water. That's where you're going to get ice on the roadway, and that is the proverbial black ice. We've never seen black ice come out of a Coke machine, but it is ice, and everybody, the vernacular within the industry is black ice. Black ice and freezing rain, those are two different things, okay? Freezing rain is rain that freezes on contact with the road surface. The road surface is super cold. The atmosphere is warm. It falls as rain, and then it freezes on contact. That is something different. If you get freezing rain, then yes, my counsel to you, my professional counsel, as other people have said, stay home. Okay? Because it's just too dangerous, and roads are skating rinks. So know how to differentiate between freezing rain and black ice on the roadways. Black ice will catch you out because you'll be driving along and you'll think that everything's fine, and it's not, and then you'll hit a patch of ice and skid out of control, as I did there a couple 3 years ago, late at night, going up the highway. Went too fast around a curve, corner, and turn. Curves and corners and turns, those will always catch you in the wintertime when it's slippery. Slow down, and I'll talk more about this in the presentation. Went around the corner too fast, got a little bit of ice, went around in a circle 3 times, and backed into the hard snowbank. Fortunately, it didn't end up in the ditch when that happened to me. It was just lucky. And I've had stories of other smart drivers over the years who they too have been lucky, and any mishap on the roadway that you can walk away from, that's a good mishap. Okay, know that. Marion, my friend, how are you? Excellent. Welcome. How is the weather in Vancouver? I know we did get a couple of days of sunshine when it was super cold here in the interior, but now we're back to blah. It's just blah. We're not getting the winter storms that everybody else was getting, in the Midwest and in southwestern Ontario and the prairies where it's like super cold. Corey, how cold is it in Winterpeg? I was looking at the map there. I know it's got to be minus 30. Is it minus 30 in Winterpeg? It's not minus 30 here where we live in the interior of British Columbia. Those of us who are living on the margins, well, the West Coast margin anyway, not so much the East Coast. The East Coast is getting winter, but here on the West Coast, we're subscribing to climate change, whereas the rest of the North America, they're like, climate change, what are you talking about? We're having a good old-fashioned winter. It is freezing cold, and there's heaps and tons of snow. So that's what we're talking about. Marion, doing okay? Yep, we are blah here too today. It's going to rain from today through Sunday at least. Good old Vancouver. Rain, rain, and more rain. That's why I moved from Vancouver Island. And now I moved from rain to blah. To blah. It's just overcast and cold, around freezing all the time here in the interior of British Columbia. And yeah, when my kids are done high school, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. Yep, especially with the windshield this past week, minus 30. That's what Corey is saying. Corey lives in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Canada, Manitoba. Yes, that's the right province. And it is affectionately known as Winterpeg. It's called Winnipeg, but it's affectionately known as Winterpeg, and it is minus 30 degrees Celsius, which is minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It is very cold in Winterpeg. Blah over rain anytime. No, Marion, I don't know. I don't know. We can have a poll on that, whether you would prefer rain all the time or you would prefer blah, where it's just overcast and cold. I don't want either one of them. I don't want either one of them. I'm thinking the Mediterranean would be very nice. Somewhere along the Mediterranean there. That's what I'm thinking. So let's get over to the presentation here. We'll get through that 10 or 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll spend the remainder of the hour answering your questions about passing a driver's test, driving in deep snow, driving in winter conditions on ice and snow. We'll touch on deep snow and how to drive on deep snow. Corey will put up the video for us with Willie. I think it's lesson number 6, where we teach him how to rock the vehicle in deep snow so that you can get it out of deep snow and get unstuck, because you are going to get stuck in deep snow. I've had that experience with the buggy where I got stuck with it because it high centered, which is there's too much snow and it just lifts the vehicle up and the tires no longer make contact with the roadway. That is another danger of driving in deep snow, if your tires aren't actually making contact with the road surface. So that's something else that could potentially happen in deep snow. If you do get stuck in deep snow, don't sit there and dig it in, okay? Okay, you're going to need a tow. So you're either going to need somebody else with a tow strap that's going to be able to pull you out, a good Samaritan, or you're going to have to call a tow truck, okay? A couple $100 to get yourself towed out of the ditch. There was a complaint today. One of the truck drivers on Twitter was talking about some truck stop. They hadn't cleared the parking lot. And, from what I was looking at, I was like, well, there wasn't a lot of snow. And second, I left a comment. I said, where's the chains? You only need one chain on one tire and you can drive right through that with the diff lock on. So this is the other thing. Truck drivers, get out of the truck, put the chains on. And if you don't have chains, you should have chains on the truck. And I'll tell you a story about that after the presentation. Marion, there was a discussion at coffee morning about driving on icy conditions. One guy said, if you start sliding, to floor it. Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that after the presentation, Marion. Let's talk about that. That is some interesting, and I'll just think about that in terms of different drivetrains. But for the most part, no, you don't want to be doing that. So the presentation is mostly directed towards people driving in the South. So people in Kentucky, the Carolinas, Virginia, West Virginia. You call it the Carolinas, but you don't call it the Virginias, which is interesting. You call it the Dakotas, the Carolinas, but you don't call it the Virginias because it's Virginia and West Virginia. So that's different than North and South Carolina and North and South Dakota. But anyway, excuse me, sorry. So we're mostly directed at the South, where they get freezing rain, cold temperatures, and they will get the odd snowfall, and it is more treacherous to drive. But all these skills, all these techniques and information are directed to everybody who's getting snowstorm right now, and it is freezing cold. So this will help you out, keep you safe on the roadways, and help you to drive with more confidence on compromised traction. Know, first and foremost, in the wintertime, know that it is most treacherous when the temperature is near freezing, because there's a layer of water on top of the ice, and it makes the ice and snow more slippery. So it is more treacherous to drive at 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, than it is to drive at minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 12 degrees Celsius. Because sub-zero temperatures, tires get traction because the snow is sticky. Think of ice cubes when you first take them out of the freezer. When you first take them out, they're sticky, and you let them sit on the counter for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, and they start to melt. There's a layer of water on the ice, on top of the around the ice, and it'll go skidding off across the countertop. Near freezing, at freezing temperatures, water thaws and freezes. It thaws, freezes, thaws, freezes, thaws, freezes. Layer of water lubricates the ice, and it is most slippery at intersections. This is another thing about winter tires and how they work. Okay, heat. When you come up to the intersection, people are hitting the brakes, they're skidding up to the intersection, they're sliding, and friction causes heat, and this causes the snow and ice at the intersection to melt, and this creates that layer of water on top of the ice and snow. Same thing as the Zamboni at the ice hockey rink. So know that intersections are going to be slippery, and I'll talk more about this. Slow down back from the intersection and then creep up to the intersection. Same thing on highways. Slow down back from where you want to actually stop and then creep up to where you actually want to get stopped. So smooth inputs into the accelerator, the brake, and the steering wheel. Overuse of any one of those controls on your vehicle will cause you to lose control and potentially go into a skid on the roadway. Where does the proverbial black ice form on the roadways? Bridges and overpasses, low and high elevations, anywhere the road lies in shadow, or anywhere that the road goes past a body of water. These are the places where you potentially could find black ice. In addition to that, black ice is going to form when there's very little traffic on the roadways. Think of it like calm river water as opposed to flowing river water. Flowing river water is going to take longer to freeze because the water's moving. Water that is sitting still freezes first, and it's the same thing with a roadway. Overnight, there's very little traffic. The water can sit on the roadway. It gets cold, and then it freezes. In addition to that, and this is the same thing with what's going on with the winter storms in Ontario and the Northwest and the Midwest in the United States, main roads are going to be cleared first, and secondary roads are going to be more treacherous because they're not plowed, and there's ruts on the roadways, and there's piles of snow, windrows of slush, and those types of things, and you're going to have to move through those, especially if you're changing lanes and those types of things. So know that when there are winter storms and there's snow and ice on the roadways, that main roads are going to be plowed first. So as you get into the suburbs, there's going to be more and more snow that you're going to have to deal with in terms of driving. 2X, there's no snow on the road, but temperature is 1 degree here in New York City. Is it still dangerous? Yes, 2X, because you can definitely get ice on the roadways at that temperature when it's 1 degree Fahrenheit. You're definitely susceptible to ice on the roadways if there is water in the form of fog at night, or there's melting during the day. Those types of things, all of that can lead to ice on the roadways. Okay, intersections are slippery, curbs, corners, and turns. If you're going to get into trouble when roadways are slippery or there's snow, it's going to be curbs, corners, and turns. Know that in the winter time, braking and steering should be two separate actions. In order for the tires to have traction, the tires have to be rolling. Okay, a locked or spinning wheel always leads. In other words, if you got too much brake and the wheels are locked up, you cannot get traction to steer. All right, and the steer tires do most of the braking, but they also do the steering. So know that braking and steering have to be two separate actions. Intersections are going to be slippery, and main roads are going to be cleared. All right. Following distance is going to be 3 to 4 seconds, and that is an absolute must when you are driving in compromised traction and questionable road conditions. Curves, corners, and turns, slow down on the straight and then go around the curve, and you want power to the wheels. I'm not talking about accelerating, but you want slight push on the drivetrain as you're moving forward. It's also not as treacherous as it once was. Most vehicles in this day and age are four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or front-wheel drive. There are very few rear-wheel drive vehicles in this day and age. Now, in addition to that, and I say that and I talk about drivetrains, I know that most people, and it's interesting, just leave a comment here. You're watching now on the live stream or you're watching on the replay. Tell me what kind of drivetrain you have in your vehicle. Is it all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, or is it four-wheel drive, or is it rear-wheel drive? Which one of those four drivetrains do you have in your vehicle? I can tell you from a professional experience that, well, okay, I'm guessing professional conjecture here is that 60% of drivers do not know what kind of drivetrain they have in their vehicle. 60% at least do not know what kind of drivetrain they have in their vehicle. Okay, power through the curve, don't accelerate, but moving and pushing the vehicle through the curve. See, Marion knows. She is an all-wheel drive. She is an HRC. HRC? CRV? It's the HRV. I always get them confused. There's so many letters and numbers now with all the vehicles, see? So Marion knows that she is an all-wheel drive vehicle, and they're one of the better types of drivetrains to drive on slippery, compromised traction. Okay, oversteering. This is what happens when you turn the steering wheel and the back end of the vehicle starts to come around. So you're oftentimes driving too fast for conditions of the roadway. And again, when I lost control of the buggy there 3 or 4 years ago on the highway going up the road and hit ice on the roadways, I was driving too fast for conditions, and as soon as I turned the steering wheel even the tiniest littlest bit, the back end lifted up because shifted the equilibrium in the vehicle going around the corner and lost control of the vehicle. Again, following distance is critical if this happens to you, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. Understeering. This is when you turn the steering wheel and the vehicle continues to go straight. And oftentimes this will happen on slippery conditions when you're braking and steering at the same time. Now you can get away with that in the summertime. You can brake and steer at the same time because there's all kinds of traction. However, in the wintertime on slippery conditions, ice and snow, you cannot do this. Braking and steering must be separate actions. Turning. Brake first and then steer around the corner. The saying in the racing industry is oversteering scares the passenger because the back end starts to come around. Understeering scares the driver because you're turning the steering wheel and it's continuing to go straight. Skid recovery. Steer in the direction that you want to go. And I know that there are going to be smart drivers that are going to come back to me and they're going to say, steer in the direction of the skid. Well, like I said, I've been doing this for like 30 years and I've never figured out which way is the direction of the skid, whether it's the back end coming around or the front end continuing to go straight when it's understeering, whatever it is. And in addition to that, if you're steering in the direction of the skid and the direction of the skid is the ditch, is that really the direction you want to go? Probably not. So steer in the direction you want the vehicle to go. Get out of the main tracks, get over onto the shoulder of the road if you can. Rumble strips, gravel shoulders, a bit of grass, those types of things will help you to find and get traction in order to steer the vehicle or get it stopped. Not like the woman who hit ice on an interchange and, you know, the vehicle wasn't going to slow down, the vehicle wasn't going to stop on the ice, and she just bailed. She just got out of the vehicle and continued to let it go. Now, the thing is, had she stayed behind the controls of the vehicle would have gone into the grass and she would have had traction. She would have got the vehicle stopped within a few feet. But for whatever reason, she just bailed out of the vehicle. Okay? Look in the direction that you want the vehicle to go. Wear your seatbelt. Your seatbelt not only protects you in the event of a crash, but also keeps you in the driver's seat in the event of an emergency, because it's really, really tough to drive the vehicle if you're upside down in the footwell on the passenger side. Wear your seatbelt. And as well, you can push off the dead pedal. So A, B, C, D, the accelerator, the brake, the clutch, if you got a manual transmission, and D, the dead pedal. It's that place on the left side of the driver's footwell where you can rest your left foot, but you can also push back into the driver's seat to help you stay in control. It was adopted from racing, okay? And don't give up if you get into a skid. Interstate backups or highway backups. If you come up and you see that the traffic is stopped in front of you, stay back from where the backup is and have that space in front of your vehicle, because it is less likely that a moving vehicle is going to be tailgated. So stay back and then roll up slowly, activate your four-way flashers until other traffic gets behind you and there's a queue behind you, because you want to give ample warning to that traffic behind you that is coming up that you are actually slowing down and coming to a stop behind the stop traffic on the highway or the freeway. Stay off the brakes on slippery conditions. Look for landmarks along the highway, along the roadway, especially if visibility is poor. There's a lot of snow, a lot of ice on the roadways. Okay, straight line. Stay in a straight line. And drive the speed of the flow of traffic. Many new drivers, inexperienced drivers ask, well, how fast should I drive on snow and ice? I can tell you from many, many years of experience, the speed at which the flow of traffic is traveling, that's the speed you should be traveling. If you are going faster than the flow of traffic in snow and ice, you should not be driving on the roadways. You're driving too fast. Crashing. If a crash is imminent, try and reduce your speed as much as possible. And this is what happened when I went into a spin there with the buggy a 3 years ago. It slowed down very quickly. Okay, once the vehicle is sideways and it's sliding and you are not having any acceleration, the vehicle is going to slow down really, really quickly. So aim for something soft, a bush, a fence. Not a rock, not a tree. Those are not soft and they will do a lot of damage to your vehicle. So aim for something soft and try to have a glancing blow off another vehicle rather than a head-on collision with another vehicle. And here is some very, very sound advice. If you have the choice between a sideswipe crash and a head-on crash, pick the sideswipe crash every time. Most sideswipe crashes only result in property damage. Head-on crashes and tail and rear end crashes and T-bone crashes often end in fatalities. Sideswipe crashes, on the other hand, do not result in fatalities. Most of the time, as I said, it's just property damage. So if you have the choice, pick the sideswipe crash. Okay, proactive winter driving. Have good quality tires on your vehicle. Winter tires are preferred if you're getting snow and ice, but at minimum, quality all-weather tires that have either the M&S symbol on them or the three-peak mountain snowflake symbol on them. That's where the rubber meets the road. That is the little bit of contact that you have with the road surface. Have good quality tires on your vehicle. Increase following distance 4 to 6 seconds behind other traffic. And when I say 4 to 6 seconds, I don't mean 4 to 6 car lengths. I mean the car in front, the vehicle in front passes a fixed object, a traffic sign, a light standard. They pass, you start counting. 1 Wolverine, 2 Wolverines, 3 Wolverines, 4 Wolverines. You should be 4 seconds minimum before you pass that same fixed object that the vehicle in front of you passed as well. That's your minimum safe distance when road and traffic conditions deteriorate, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. So keep your following distance behind other traffic. Clear all the ice and snow off your vehicles. Brake early, gentle, deft inputs into the controls, the acceleration, the brake, and the steering wheel. Brake on the straight and slowly, go through curves, corners, and turns. Look far down the road. Look for landmarks, especially if you have snowstorm, deep snow. You're going to have to look far down the road. You're going to have to look for landmarks when you're driving. You're going to have to look for utility poles, intersections, concrete barriers, traffic signs, other traffic on the roadways. And if weather is bad and there's blizzards and blowing snows, please do not activate your hazard lights. Everybody else on the roadway knows that the weather is bad. They're in the same conditions as you. You got those flashing, blinking lights on the back of your car with the hazard lights. First of all, it's distracting you because it's click, 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 click inside the car, and the person following you is looking at those hazard lights, and it's distracting other traffic on the roadway. So don't activate your hazard lights. Simply turn your headlights from the auto position to the on position to activate and turn on your taillights behind. And every now and again, if you're driving long distances, for example, in ice and snow, go into a fuel station and brush off all the lights and clean the glass and those types of things when you're driving to keep yourself safe. Because keep in mind, driving is a social activity, and it is important to both be seen and to see. Because if other drivers can see you on the roadway and you make a mistake or something goes wrong, they're likely to help you out if they can see your taillights and your vehicle on the roadway. All right. 3-2, I'm watching, and I wanted to say bless you for these videos and the live helping people with driving. You are most welcome, my friend. If you have any questions at all, let us know. We can definitely help you out. Thank you for your kind words. 7X, in Vancouver, we don't worry about snow, only rain, so we are doing a great here. Also pick an imaginary lane and drive. Awesome, 7X. However, they think they get enough snow, 7X, that they're going to invest millions of dollars in fitting transit buses in Vancouver with winter tires. You know, I think it would be less expensive if they just shut down the city for the day as opposed to fitting all the transit vehicles with winter tires. Because, you know, first and foremost, the cost of winter tires for transit vehicles is exorbitant. And then in addition to that, you have the staff that has to put them on the buses and then take them off the buses when they're no longer required. And we're only talking about 1, maybe 2 days a year where Vancouver needs winter tires on their transit vehicles. It's the same thing, you know, with Seattle, Washington. 1 day a year, maybe they get snow. And so why would you spend all that, all those resources and time to put winter tires on transit vehicles? It's just crazy. It's like I said, just send everybody home. They don't need to go when it snows in Vancouver. It's the same thing with the Carolinas. Just send people home for the day. That's what they need to do. Politicians do not make great decisions. They're reactionary, and they're, you know, plugging the political holes. Oh, let's do this. And it's just a crazy idea, you know. But, you know, in North America, we'd never say, hey, you know, we're having a bad day. You know, the weather's terrible and the roads are treacherous, and we should just send people home for safety. You know, that's what, you know, doing what they do in the Carolinas, or, you know, like places along the equator where it gets super hot in the daytime and they have siestas. It's just a great idea. But, you know, there are places in Australia where it's super hot in the north and they don't have siestas because they have the North American mindset that, you know, regardless of what is going on in the world, it could be, everything could be falling apart and, you know, we're having an apocalypse, but we're going to go to work. We're going to go to work. That's what they're all thinking. 7X, I agree. Last winter was horrible. I was waiting for the bus, but they turned us back because the buses weren't in service. Also, Vancouver's chaotic and snow. Yeah, because as I said in the presentation, 7X, it's because the temperature is right at freezing. It's 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's full of water, which lubricates the ice and snow, making it more dangerous than it is if it's minus 20 degrees and blowing a gale. And this is what I, you know, when I was on Vancouver Island and we got snow, the one snow a year, and I went out, and we had a Honda CR-V at the time. We had a different one, but we had a Honda CR-V, and I could not believe how slippery it was. It was like grease, absolute grease. It was the most slippery winter conditions I had driven in all of my experience of driving. And I've done a lot of driving in many different countries in different vehicles, buses and trucks and cars, and, you know, thousands and thousands of different kinds of cars. And you know, it was absolutely treacherous. And this is the same thing as Vancouver. They should just call a state of emergency and send everybody home. Epic, different here in New York City. The region, metro region, they don't run buses, both transit and coach type, just due to a commercial vehicle tier restriction are allowed on highways. Okay. So they have different kinds of buses there depending on the kind of service that they're providing there in the New York, New Jersey region there. All right. Epic says follow the speed limit set by the state or province for snow via 511 systems. You need to drive in New Jersey. It's 35 miles per hour. While in the state of Pennsylvania, they tell you to go 45 miles an hour. So there's systems. We have similar systems. Drive BC here in the province of British Columbia and other provinces where they will make recommendations. But those are only recommendations, and it's up to the driver to implement the skills and information and drive according to the traffic and road conditions that are present at the time. Because depending on where you are in the state, those road conditions could be very different than they are in a different part of the state. Know that for the purposes of driving, that you need to be continually assessing. And one of the other skills that you can do when you're driving is to test the traction. You get out on the roadway and you look behind you and there's nobody there. There's very low density traffic. There's nobody around. Just hit the brake and see what happens. Does it lock up? Do you get traction? Does the vehicle come to a stop, or is it sliding and skidding? So test the traction as well to determine how fast you can safely drive and how long it's going to take you to stop. Because if you know if you're going to get stopped or not, that's the other thing. Test the traction before you get too far from home. 3-2, I have been driving for 2 years and always driving safe. Thank you for the videos. Always help me out. Awesome, my friend. 7X, I got a question. What's the difference between four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive? All right, excellent question. Okay, a four-wheel drive 7X has a transfer case in the front. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but essentially it's got a switch inside that's two-wheel drive. So it runs the rear wheels most of the time. Four-wheel drive high, so you've got all four wheels turning, and then you've got four-wheel drive low for off-road. That's four-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is kind of like four-wheel drive, except all the wheels will turn, but the computer in the vehicle will determine which wheels need the power. And when you're going around a curve, for example, say you're going around a curve to the right, the computer will sense, okay, we have a steering input to the left. It will put power to the right wheels on the outside of the car, on the passenger side of the vehicle, to push that vehicle around that curve and increase safety and increase traction in all-wheel drive vehicles. So in an all-wheel drive vehicle, it's like a front-wheel drive vehicle and a rear-wheel drive vehicle combined. It's not like four-wheel drive where you have a transfer case and you have front axles and those types of things. So four-wheel drives are a bit more rugged, and you don't run them in four-wheel drive all the time. You have the option to go out of four-wheel drive, and you can go into four-wheel drive high, or you can go into four-wheel drive low. All-wheel drive is always all four wheels are pushing, and depending on where the computer determines where you need power the most, it will direct it to those wheels. And depending on the brand and model of the vehicle, that all-wheel drive computer system will work differently depending on the configuration of the car and the vehicle. So that's kind of a very basic overview of the difference between four-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. And the Honda CR-V that I have, the first generation, has what's called real-time four-wheel drive. It was an early predecessor of, it was the predecessor of all-wheel drive, because essentially what happens is most of the time it's front-wheel drive, but if it detects wheel spin, it will kick in the rear wheels and start to turn the rear wheels as well. So real-time four-wheel drive is the predecessor of all-wheel drive. Marion, I did that when Vancouver had snow. I wanted to see how the car will react in snow, so found a spot that had deep snow and tested the car to see what it felt like. Yes, exactly. So test the traction. That's a great technique that you can do when you get out into ice and snow. 9-5, hello, are you? I haven't heard from you in months, brother. How is it up there in Canada? It is awesome, my friend. Most of the country is in sub-zero temperatures and experiencing snowstorms. Toronto, Ontario, Canada got 50 centimeters of snow in a couple of days, which is 20 inches of snow, just a little bit less than 2 feet of snow. So they're digging out there, and parts of the States and those types of things. But those of us out here in the West, we still haven't had any snow, and the ski hills are, unfortunately, they're struggling a little bit because of the poor weather we've had this year. Corey, also slow speed maneuvers are much different with all-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive. All-wheel drive is more smart and power delivery. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because that computer is always working to put power to the wheels that need it. And like I said, if it detects wheel spin, it's going to break those wheels, and it's going to put power to the other wheels to try and move forward. Now, newer vehicles will all have all-wheel drive. So most cars, Subarus are all-wheel drive, Hondas are all-wheel drive, many other Audis are all-wheel drive. They're the Quattro all-wheel drive suspensions. They will also have something called traction, traction stability control in them, okay? So what that means is traction stability control, and you will find a button on the dash that will turn your traction stability control on and off. So what happens is if the vehicle detects wheel spin with your all-wheel drive train, you get wheel spin, it will cut power to those wheels. What you need to do, if you are in deep snow and you need to rock the vehicle and you need to spin the tires, you need to turn the traction stability control off. You need to turn it off. So say for example, you're in your laneway in the morning, you got a big dump of snow at night, you need to tear through it because you don't have time to shovel the dump snow. You're late for work. The dog did its business on the kitchen floor. You stepped in it. You dumped the milk on the floor. Everything has gone wrong that possibly could have gone wrong this morning. The clothes you thought you were going to wear to work were in the laundry, and you're late. You get out there. There's a foot of snow. You don't have time to plow the driveway. But you need to tear out of the driveway. So you need to get some run at it, and you need to get some wheel spin and really tear at it. So the traction stability control, you need to turn it off in order to spin the wheels to get out of the driveway to get yourself to work on time, because you're already late, but you're trying. You're trying to. So traction stability control, that's what it does. The all-wheel drive system, once it detects wheel spin, it will cut power to those wheels and put it to the others, but it'll just go, and you won't get any wheel spin. So traction stability control, there is another tip for winter driving. Turn it off, and that way you'll be able to plow through the deep snow. And 2014, we got 3 feet of snow here in 48 hours. I was at my friend's place, and I had to drive back to Vernon. Their driveway, I didn't have winter tires on the buggy at the time. I had all-season tires. And their driveway was at the bottom of a hill. And so I was parked on the street. I went out, and I went up the road. And, of course, I couldn't get enough traction to get up the hill. So I backed all the way up their driveway, like right the back bumper of the buggy, like right at the garage door, and went tearing down their driveway because there was a bit of a downward incline, and then got going up the road. And of course, the buggy's a manual transmission. If you're driving in deep snow, here's for those people driving manual cars, you're going to get better traction in a manual car in second gear. So I got tearing down their driveway into second gear and just tearing on it and spinning the wheels, and I was able to make it up through the snow and out onto the road, and away I went, right? But again, I had to get a run at it, and I had to spin the wheels. And manual transmission, as I just said, you're going to get much better traction once you get into second gear than you are in first, because it's just going to spin too much. So second gear, you need to get into second gear. All-terrain tires, and is it useful in the wintertime? 7X, all-terrain tires, no. In the wintertime, you want winter tires on your vehicle. Those are going to be the best. Specific winter tires. And as everybody here knows who is part of the Smart Driver community, I am a huge advocate of Michelin tires. I have Michelin X-Ice tires on my vehicle. Marion has them on her HRV as well. They are the absolute best. Tires are like cars. Depending on what you want and what you want to do, there's a car for everything that you want to do. Tires are the same. All-terrain tires, winter tires, all-weather tires, all-season tires. There's a tire for everything that you want to do. Now, wintertime, you want winter-specific tires on your vehicle, if at all possible. That's going to serve you the best on ice and snow conditions. And same thing. When I was living on Vancouver Island, we got rain in the wintertime, just a torrential amount of rain. And I got tires on the Honda CR-V at the time that were rain-specific tires. They were tires specifically for driving in large amounts of rain, and they made all the difference in the world because they were specifically designed for driving in the rain and torrential downpours. Because living in Vancouver, living on Vancouver Island, you're going to get those torrential downpours, and you might consider putting those tires on your vehicle. Marion, always I wanted to figure out how the car would feel in snow, as it was my first time driving in the winter. It was fun. Yes. If you want to learn how to drive in the wintertime and there's snow and ice, go out to the parking lot and do donuts in the parking lot. Hit the brakes, drive aggressively, because you're in a controlled environment and you can learn how the vehicle responds on snow and ice and what the steering is going to do when you lose traction. So definitely exactly what Marion did. That's the best thing you can do if it's your first winter driving. Snow brushes, yes, epic, as he says. Make sure that you have snow brushes in your vehicle and clear all the lights, all the glass. Now, I know that this is contentious, and I know that you can get a fine for not clearing the top of your vehicle off. I mean, if you've got 3 or 4 feet of snow on the top of your vehicle, or this much, anything over a couple, 3 inches, yes, then you need to clear the top of your vehicle off. However, you don't always need to, okay? It'll just blow off, and it doesn't come off in large chunks. I know that we have videos on Twitter and other social media platforms. Twitter. Sorry, it's not called Twitter anymore. the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, like Prince. Yes, everybody gets that. I don't need to clarify it. It's when you explain the joke, it's not funny anymore, right? Twitter, the social media platform, formerly known as Twitter, chunks of ice coming off vehicles and those types of things. It rarely happens. It rarely happens. Most of the time, the snow just blows off the top of the vehicle and it just blows off like powder and those types of things. And again, this goes back to what I tell you about driving in the wintertime, 4 to 6 second following distance. 4 to 6 second following distance. All right. And then that way, that's not going to become an issue for you when you're driving on the roadways. There was another post today where there was a big semi-trailer and there's, all this snow on the top of the semi-trailer. And they're like, well, that needs to be cleared off. Well, how do you clear that off? And that's my question, because it's not the driver's responsibility. First of all, it's aluminum up there and it's slippery and it's dangerous. It's like the driver's not going up there to clear it off. And they have special equipment to get the snow off the top. I've seen them, the special equipments, where it's basically an I-beam, for school buses and those types of things. I mean, maybe if you get snow all the time, but, just stay away from them. Have your 4 to 6 second following distance, and then the snow coming off the top of the vehicle is not an issue. I digress. Clear all the glass, clear all the lights, make sure that you can see and you can be seen when you're driving in snow and ice and other reduced visibility conditions. Fred, my friend, how are you, my friend? Mary, now that I didn't know, is there special tires for heavy rain? Marion, there are special tires for heavy rain. And if you're getting rain in Vancouver all the time, and the next time you change your tires out, don't go and buy them, okay, right now. But, when your all seasons wear out and the next time you're going to buy tires and, you think, oh, we get a lot of rain here in Vancouver, maybe this would be a good thing. Then you can buy tires that are specifically for rain that will keep you safe on the roadways. So that's something you could consider. 718, snow on top is a problem here in New York City because many people do it. No space. The snow, even blowing snow, reduces visibility. You shouldn't be that close. 4 to 6 second following distance if it's snow, icy conditions on the roadway. You should not be that close to other traffic on the roadway, okay? Yes, you should try as best you can to clear the top of the vehicle off. But here where I live, everybody's got a pickup truck and an SUV, and they're like 6 feet tall. And, you know, even the buggy, I mean, it's tough to get up there. Now, in addition to that, there are snow brushes that are telescopic, and they're like, you know, they got a nice 6 foot reach, and you can get most of the snow off and those types of things. For many people, yes, it's just laziness that they don't clean the top of the vehicle off. And I know this is contentious. I know it's contentious. All right. 7X, driving in Canada is fun, but winter driving is complex. Yes, it is. But with some skills, techniques, and information about winter driving, you're going to have a high confidence level and you're going to be just fine. And as I said, I'm putting up a video tomorrow, 5 defensive driving tips for driving on ice and snow on the highway. Look for that tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll get that video up for you. And as well, there's many other videos here, 14 essential driving tips for keeping safe in the wintertime. Corey will put that video up for you, and that'll help you out as well. Okay, excellent. Fred, that is great, my friend. Awesome, awesome. Thanks for letting us know that you're great. We're great here, and talking about winter driving, helping people out. Bring a small shovel too, yes, and if you buy a survival kit, exactly what Epic was saying, winter survival kit, have one of those in your vehicle if you are traveling on highways, because if you get stranded, you need those things in your vehicle. And if you can buy them at all kinds of places, Canadian Tire and other places, in, you know, automotive parts stores, and they will have a shovel, emergency blankets, booster cables, traction mats, tow ropes, and those types of things. Don't use chains to tow vehicles anymore. Or use the tow straps because they're kind of stretchy and they have some give, and that will help you out as well in the wintertime if you're traveling out on highways and what. Corey, I know most tire shops, Cal Tire for example, will disclose the hydroplane resistance rating for the tires they sell. Yes, and as I said, there are specific tires that are designed for heavy rain areas like Seattle and Vancouver Island, those types of things. So everyone can just build a snowman, snow people, snow woman, snow child, something PC there. We can't say that anymore. We have to be PC about this stuff. Corey's put up the 14 essential tips for driving on snow and ice that every driver should know. Driving on black ice on the roadways. Babu, Corey put up the video for you on driving on black ice. Have a look at that. That will give you all the information you need to know about where to locate ice on the roadways, when it's going to happen, and how you should drive. Curves, corners, and turns. That's where you're going to get into trouble. And I got into trouble a 3 years ago because went around the curve. It was icy. Lost control of the vehicle. I was going a little bit too fast. All right. Thank you, Marion. We can always help you out. That's what we do here. Love helping people out. Awesome. Yeah. PC. We got to be PC. Right? I still haven't figured out the thing for high-income countries, low-income countries, third world, first world. I mean, what is the PC term for that? If somebody can let me know, either now on the live stream or later when you're watching on the replay, let me know what is the PC term for that, because I'm at a loss about what that is, okay? So winter survival kit, always have a charging cable for your phone, because if you get into trouble on the roadway and you need to call for help, your phone needs to be charged in order to be able to do that. So make sure that you have a charging cable. Phone holder, okay? I resisted for a long time. I would not buy a phone holder for my car. I will tell you from my personal experience of being an old codger, I have gray hair now, so I can officially call myself that. When I did get a phone holder, oh my God, it was so much less distracting to drive with my phone in the car. Especially if you're using it for your GPS and whatnot, and it's on the passenger seat, and you're trying to look at it and listen to the instructions. And in addition to that, the GPS on your phone, if you are using GPS, here's an advanced driving technique. Turn the audio on, okay? And then you can have that annoying voice, and you can change it to Australian, British, whatever language you want in English or whatever other English language. When I was in Spain, I forgot to ask the rental people to change it from Spanish into English in the rental car. So it's very helpful when there's audio as well, and you can have that annoying voice. In 1 kilometer, turn right. In 500 meters, turn right. Turn right now. Turn right now. That annoying voice, you know? So, yes, turn the audio on your GPS when you're going to destinations that you have not been to before to increase safety by reducing distractions, and that way you can be looking out the front windshield at where you're going to be going when you're driving with GPS. 718, the snow we got here is devastating to the flow of traffic. There is no place to put the snow, and it is taking up lanes of traffic. It's crazy here. Streets that should be two-way are one-way now. We get stuck. Yes, 718. I remember those days from the years that I lived in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It's the same thing with Montreal. The snow needs to be put somewhere, and there's already limited space in the cities with driving. You drive in Montreal where my friends live. My dear friends live in Montreal. And you go up the side streets. It's already a single lane because there are cars parked on both sides of the roadway. And then you put snow, you add snow to that mix, and it is crazy. And there's many streets in Montreal and other large cities that you cannot park on, every certain days of the week because they need the cars moved so that they can clear the snow out in, large snow blowers and dump trucks and graders and plows and all the other massive amounts of equipment that they have for moving this snow away from the street so that they can continue to park cars and have sidewalks and footpaths and bicycle lanes and all those types of things. There's one person on the social media platform formerly known as Twitter that just drives me crazy. He puts up all this propaganda and this partisan politics about bicycle lanes. And there was one today, supposedly it was Copenhagen. There's like scores and scores and scores of bicycles out in the middle of winter, and they're all riding their bicycles, and they're like, oh, look at me, I'm riding my bicycle. And I put up a comment on his post, and I said, this looks exactly like the same picture that you put up saying that it was Montreal just a couple of months ago. And I was in Montreal, and there was like one, maybe two bicycles out riding around in the snow. You're telling me that there's scores and scores of people riding up and down the bicycle lanes looking all happy in the middle of winter, just freezing. No. Only the truly dedicated cyclists are riding in sub-zero temperatures up and down the bike paths in the wintertime in the snow. Marion, when you are able, make a U-turn and go on route. Yes. 215, if it be cool, can you make GPS voices with movie actors? Yeah, probably you can get movie actors, although, it's probably copyrighted. That's probably why they don't have movie actors doing the annoying GPS voice in your vehicle. And just as a note to commercial vehicle drivers, those of school buses, coaches, Greyhound, big trucks and those types of things, there are specific GPS for big truck because there are many, many no truck routes that your GPS will take you down. When I went back for a brief period of time in 2016 and the GPS in the truck broke it was broken and I had to use my phone, it kept trying to take me down all these streets and whatnot that were no truck routes. Now, fortunately, when you get off somewhere and you don't go down a truck route, it reroutes you. But you do have to be very alert when you're driving your large vehicle, your pickup truck with your camper trailer or your school bus or your coach or those types of things, to the no truck routes in the cities and know that you can't go down there. Because if you go down there, you could get into a low overpass or get into a street where there's cars on both sides and a curve where you can't get your big truck around or your large vehicle, those types of things. So be looking out the window. And the perfect example of this, there are many, many examples on social media and the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, where, they end up in the middle of a bush somewhere and it's like, oh, Google told me to go here. I had this very thing happen to me. I was looking at, the GPS trying to get to the hotel when we came out of Calgary there at Christmas time and come up to the intersection and it shows a set of traffic lights at the intersection, but there's a short intersection, like right before the intersection where the traffic lights was showing on the GPS. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, there's a red light. Of course, I'm sick and I'm super tired. And I just, hadn't looked out the windshield. I would have driven through a red light because of the GPS was saying there was a traffic light over there, not the one right here. So always be looking out through the windshield and paying attention to what's going on in the real world, the big old world of traffic and driving, as opposed to what's on your GPS, because that's not always accurate. Okay, don't trust it. Okay, they're great tools, don't get me wrong, fantastic tools, but they're not always right. So be looking out the windshield and taking in what's going on, reduce traffic and road conditions. It's the same thing with weather reports. What's going on where you are may be very different than what's going on 15 miles away, where the station is, the weather station that's collecting the data. It could be clear over there, but where you are, it's snowing and blowing a gale, and you're in very different weather type conditions in the wintertime, and snow and ice and those types of things. So snow brushes, 4 to 6 second following distance, keep the glass clear, keep your lights on to the on position, not the auto position. That way you turn your taillights on. See and be seen, because driving is a social activity. If other people can see you on the roadways, then if you make a mistake or something goes wrong, they are more likely to help you out and keep you safe. New drivers, inexperienced drivers, how fast should I be driving on ice and snow in the wintertime? Go the speed that the flow of traffic is going, because people are not going to be going very fast. They're going to be slowed down, and they're going to be nose to tail driving in a big long queue. Okay, that's the speed you need to be going. If it's a multi-lane road or a freeway, know that you get out into those left-hand lanes, they're probably not going to be plowed, and conditions are going to be worse. So generally tuck in behind the queue, keep your 4 to 6 second following distance, and that way you're going to be safe. Know that snowbanks will freeze and thaw, and freeze and thaw as temperature changes. They become big blocks of ice. Things get hidden in snowbanks, so don't think that you can go driving through a snowbank and not do damage to your vehicle. It does happen. Things hide in the snowbanks. Know where you're going. And if it does get treacherous, as blowing snow and visibility is reduced, you're going to need to look for landmarks along the roadway, light standards, traffic signs, other traffic, intersections, lights of houses along the roadway and whatnot, to determine where the road actually is. That's how you're going to find the roadway, but you need clear visibility. In addition to that, make sure you have good wiper blades on your vehicle. You might even want to consider getting winter specific wiper blades on your vehicle. Put winter washer fluid in the washer fluid, minus 40, because you don't want it to freeze in there, because it could do damage and cost you a lot of money to repair the reservoir on your car. So winter washer fluid, if it gets near freezing, you're out on the highway in the wintertime, you're going to get a lot of spray, especially off large vehicles, semi-trucks and those types of things. So know that if you're on the highway and you're driving along and it's a nice sunny day, there's going to be all that goop and guck and yuck off the roadway that kicks up from the large vehicles and sprays on your windshield. So keep all that clear. Paul, you think Amazon would sell a back window bottle fluid during the winter? Back window bottle fluid. Not sure what that is, Paul. 2X, thank you so much for your kind words. That is awesome, my friend. So if you don't have any more questions, we'll leave it there for tonight. Winter driving, lots of great stuff. Look at the videos that Corey's put up here. Driving on black ice, 14 essential tips. Look for the new video tomorrow. Pass your driver's test first time course package is on for $25 right now over at the Smart Drive Test website. It's 3 courses in that package. One of the courses is the winter driving, the winter driving course. So the defensive and winter driving smart courses are included in that package. And as I said, it's $25 US over at the Smart Drive Test website. Have a look for that. Pick that up and you can get smarter defensive driving skills, winter driving skills, and pass your driver's test first time. Thank you so much. All the best, Epic. 07, should we always go with company's recommended engine oil or the aftermarket? Okay, 07, you should always put the grade of oil that is recommended by the auto manufacturer in your vehicle. Okay, so the buggy is 5W30. Okay, the 5W, W is not weight, it stands for winter. 5 winter 30. So that means that when the engine oil gets cold, it's more viscous. It becomes thinner and it flows better. Okay, when it gets hot, then it gets thicker. All right. So always put the right grade. You can put different kinds of oil in your vehicle. I know that there are people who swear by Pennzoil. There are people who are Quaker State people, but make sure you put the right grade in it, okay? According to the vehicle manufacturer. Thank you so much, Marion. You are the most best. You are the best. Awesome. 5032, thank you so much. You have an awesome day as well. Corey's put up the link for the Smarter Defensive Passenger Driver's First Time Course Package, which includes both the winter and defensive driving smart courses. Thank you so much. Epic, all the best. 7X, I'm also learning how to do an oil change myself. Also recommend people learning to change their oil. Yes, it can save you quite a bit of money because an oil change now in your car, I think for most people is $100. I can put synthetic oil in the buggy and I can change it for about $50, $60 with an oil filter. So know how to do that. Driving in the snow, stay safe. Have any questions, leave a comment down in the comment section there. We'll definitely help you out to drive safe in the wintertime and be more confident on reduced traction conditions. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night.